So it begins.
At my signal, unleash hell.
Ladies and gentlemen, George the Giant Slayer.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's June 10th, 2025, and welcome to the premiere of FAFO, where the truth hits back. It's our premiere episode, and I'm thrilled to be here with you. We got Josh Hammond here, Scott Thomas, Alexander Toxic, Waltz, Man of War, 665, Neighbor of the Beast, Custom Blue Plaid. We got in the back, Fletcher Williams is producing today, but I have two amazing guests to kick off the premiere of our show where they fuck around, and then they're going to find out. We got the constitutional legal himself, Ron Coleman, and then Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Reports. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing great.
Great to be here. Great. Oh, I'm thrilled that you're here. It's the premiere episode. It's crazy what's going on. We've had the last 4 days repeatedly. The media have been saying how it's, peaceful. Like, you remember the Summer of Love propaganda? They're burning down cities and they're like, hey, it's time to have a barbecue. It's just insane.
How is it they think they can play the same scam over and over? I'm not even sure it worked then.
No,
it didn't. It did not. The general public is more uncoupled from the mainstream media than they ever were.
Yeah, I agree. Look at it. I've lined up a few of them because I think it should be a comedy special if it wasn't everything that was going on, everything that was so serious.
We agree that if you're being violent, you should be arrested. You should be prosecuted. There is no disagreement on that. I think that's a effort that we can all say, but this is not what's happening. We are having an administration that's targeting peaceful protests.
Peaceful. Peaceful.
With the fires burning. They did the meme.
It's unbelievable how far that they will go. And then you have, this one. This is golden. This is another one. I've been holding a collection of these. I'm working on a video.
Demonstrations had been going on right outside the Federal Detention Center. Most of those demonstrators were very peaceful. They were chanting, they were shouting. People were driving by, honking their horns. And again, they were expressing their anger about the detention of so many immigrants.
Peaceful. Again, peaceful. And then this is what I really want to know. How
they're expressing.
Yeah.
They're expressing.
What are they expressing is exactly the key point, that they hate the country. You have an LA councilwoman, and what I really want to know, Mark, after we see this, is how the public is reacting to it. And I also want to know from the fact is, how come they haven't been arrested? This is what I really want to know. Because to me, this sounds like inciting.
They know how quickly we mobilize. That's why they're changing tactics.
I don't believe this woman does anything quickly, and certainly not mobilize.
Well, she definitely doesn't, but she's probably got one of her wokey helpers.
Them down before, and if they're escalating their tactics, then so are we.
If they're escalating what'd she say?
They're escalating their tactics, so will we.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So she goes on, but let me ask you: is that not incitement to some degree?
I wouldn't indict that for incitement. It's bullshit.
Okay.
Someone should, TP her house. Okay. But she, if they do this, it was very vague. If then, first of all, so that's already 1 degree away from incitement, and it was vague. Escalate, incitement, or tactic. Escalate, tactic. That could be anything.
Yeah, because she goes on, wherever they show up, we're going to show up. They organize, we organize better, faster. They escalate, we escalate.
Yeah, I mean, people are look. She was reading from a paper,
right?
So someone wrote that for her and chose the words very carefully.
And Mark, how are people taking it? Like, you got, your thumb is always on the pulse of the public.
Well, what's weird is when you have nationwide riots, when everybody in the country's happy, because that's where we're at right now. Right direction polling's been off the charts good. For the very first time, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, maybe it was 3, we had a majority of U.S. likely voters for the first time in 20 years say that the country was headed in the right direction. And so you just don't see the public breaking out.
You're not calling illegal immigrants.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, everybody supports deporting them. That's the problem. And so I think the theme of the night is going to be, I have no idea why they're doing this stuff, but virtue signaling about keeping the illegal immigrants is a 20 to 30% position at best. Matt came out with numbers today and had 59 to 39 people supported the National Guard rolling in. I think my numbers would probably be a little bit even higher than that. So that's the weird thing. It's like Gavin Newsom's not going to pick up voters doing this stuff. And so why is he doing it? He's out there acting like an 1860 secessionist, and it's not going to win him votes. So how do you square that political calculus? The only thing I can come up with is they're trying to out crazy each other or foreign adversaries. Like, I really don't know how else to explain it.
All right. So we know one thing. In order to get the Democratic nomination, you run left.
Right.
And then in the remaining months, you run right.
You tack to them. Yeah. Except
the problem is that at this point, the run to the left, or the tack to the left, as you point out, George, which is the accurate phrase, is so far below the horizon. You can't even see them anymore after they hit that. Yeah. So I don't see how that works.
You know what's confusing to me is the fact that he has spent he spent the months since the election trying to tack to the middle as a moderate. He's been going on Bill Maher going, oh, men don't belong in women's sports. I never said they did. We got to fight back. We got to stand up for the girls. And Bill even was like, excuse me, can we roll the tape? I mean, he's been playing this moderate card. And I'm like, either he's going to run for Senate, or does he actually think he has a shot at the presidency?
Of course he does.
He does? You think he does? After the California fire?
Of course he thinks he does.
God, I would love to know what the polling is on that.
He's kind of narcissistic. Well, I mean, we did a year ago, we did Trump versus Gavin Newsom, and Trump was up 12 points at a time when basically Biden was down 6. So he polls 5 to 6 points worse than Biden. And since then, what has he done to gain voters? Burn down LA? I mean, I just don't see how that calculus works. And every time, even recently, we've asked Democrats who should be the candidate, Kamala Harris is still the front runner by a lot. Last time, 40% of Democrats said Harris, only 10% said Newsom. This guy is not likable. His favorability numbers are horrifying.
It's amazing to think that someone could be less likable than Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
That's hard to believe.
How do you do that?
Well, they had a $3.5 billion brainwashing operation to try and convince everybody. I think that's part of it. But I mean, I'm cynical on that, but it kind of does work a little. But ultimately, he's not going to pick up any voters. Deporting criminal illegal aliens is an 80% issue. Only 17% of people say, no, we shouldn't do that. And he's standing loud and proud on it.
You know how we see the crafty things you pollsters do. You're not juxtaposing that decision against his jawline and his hair.
He's always looked to me, Ron, like he's like a broken Ken doll. He has. It's like this. But what's funny is I was watching CNN and that clip that Mark shared on X, and it was hilarious because it looks like they were in shock.
You know, if we just take a look at the baseline numbers here, this is Trump's net approval rating on immigration. It's gone up like a rocket. Compare now versus 8 years ago during Trump's first term. Look at this. In his first term, Trump was way, way, way underwater at minus 21 points. But look at this. He's up over 20 points. Now in the aggregate, he is in positive territory at plus 1 point on his net approval rating. Some other polls even have it a little bit higher than that. There is no issue on which Trump is doing so much better than he was in his first term, more than the issue of immigration. No wonder the Times has written up the way that he is. Trump is begging for a fight on this because he...
What I want to know is if CNN is reporting that, what are his real numbers with the country?
Plus CNN. 9 on immigration.
Wow.
I have them.
Oh, yeah.
So what's funny is... if you notice the little right-hand corner of his slide, it says Enton's aggregate. So those are his own cherry-picked numbers. And after Donald Trump won a mandate on illegal immigration, border crisis, invasion, CNN only has him up 1 point. That's absolutely crazy. So I have him up 9. It's his strongest issue by far. And also, I don't even have him down that far in the economy. So they're doing their same old crazy tactics. It's all the mean girl tricks to try and make him look unpopular, but again, right directions through the roof.
Right. You think they would learn? You think they would learn? It's like we just had the election. It's not like it's 3 years ago. We just had it. These tactics didn't work. It showed that YouTubers and social media were dominating because they were sharing the facts. And then media is like, no, we're just going to keep doing it. We're going to keep digging our grave.
So let me ask a stupid question, though. It was pretty obvious during the election that this was going to be Trump's policy. And that Kamala's definitely was not going to be that policy. So what's the surprise that he's actually doing it?
I think so.
Why didn't that translate into a bigger lead going into the election?
Well, there's always people that say, I don't like illegal immigration, but my body, my choice. And so there's always this problem where people vote for different reasons. Oftentimes, the reasons people vote for Democrats is it's just what our family does and whatever. But, well, do you want to deport illegal aliens? Yeah, sure. But it's like they also think that Trump's a threat to democracy, many of them. And so he was up on all of these issues. I mean, all of the anti-China stuff, the economic stuff, the drain the swamp, cracking down on the government. There's a lot of people. I mean, MSNBC watchers, overwhelmingly, their number one issue was threat to democracy. That was their number one issue. It wasn't prices, wasn't jobs or the economy. Threats to democracy followed by abortion. 75% of them answered that. So that's what's insidious about this is that they've kept power by creating two different Americas that have completely different belief sets. Part of that America also believes a lot of conservative things. They just live in perpetual cognitive dissonance, which is why I think you see a higher incidence of mental problems. And we just polled on mental issues too, and the numbers aren't very good. Basically 1 in 4 Americans say they've been diagnosed with a mental condition and are taking medication. More young women, more young liberals, more unmarried women, but still a lot of people like across the board.
What about suburban housewives, liberal suburban housewives? No, I've always been curious because I've met several in the last 72 hours, and one of them, I'm not going to say typical Karen,
George,
but
you mean many more suburban housewives than that. Come on.
No. She actually reminded me of someone who I swear she was addicted to her kids' Ritalin, it looked like, and she had like about 4 vibrators that were all multicultural under the bed with a pallet of energizers. I mean, she was literally screaming, like, how are they going after the children? I'm like, what children are you talking about? Yeah. She's like, do you know that they're picking up kids? I'm like, can you please show me the video, a newspaper, something. I even have one lady who I know who's close in the family. Do you know what she told us? That Univision told her, get this. She says she has her papers, right? She has a work visa. She wants to be an American. She says, do you know I cannot drive after 10 o'clock at night. Univision told me this. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is Texas. Do you have a Texas driver license? Like, yeah, here it is. I'm like, you can drive. Let's look it up. She's like, that's not what Univision said. She says, Trump made sure to make your life miserable that you cannot drive from 10 o'clock till 6 a.m. It's a curfew on Hispanics.
The stupid and mentally infirm have been weaponized against the Republic brazenly. Yeah. That's where we're at. And the mental health numbers, I mean, they showed it too, but this is a tough thing to poll because I can't put it all together. If I pick like unmarried, female, suburban, that's a lot of slices, right? But generally the trend is women under 40, 35% of them say they've been diagnosed with a mental condition. That's not good. Liberal women, 34%, 18 to 39-year-old liberals, 43%. That's not good. But still some conservatives, 18 to 39-year-old conservatives, 30%. I think it's really an age signal. But you kind of joke about the suburban thing. I tested cat ladies, and it's a thing. It's a big thing. Because we looked at gender, marital status, party, and pet ownership. And the unmarried female cat owner was by far most Kamala Harris supporting. 34, I think it was like 35 points pro Kamala Harris. When female married dog owners were like 14 points Trump. So there's like a really big spread there. There really is a thing with the cats. It's kind of crazy.
Wow. It's just insane to hear that. I wonder what I'm going to look at that later. I wonder what the historic numbers are. Like 40 years ago, what was the percentage of people who identified as having a mental health problem in women?
Yeah.
I mean, it must have been smaller. That's why I liked the other day that RFK, you saw that he fired that entire board. Was it the Vax board, I believe. But I wonder what it's going to be by tomorrow, because today they've already started the looting.
Oh, jeez.
This is a sushi restaurant.
Get him out! Yo, stop that shit! Yo, stop that shit! Stop that shit! What happened? Hey, get up, bro! Get up! Hey, we don't do that shit, homie. Get out! Nah, they looting.
So they're looting. Left and right.
They're looting sushi?
They're taking anything. You had a shoe store that was looted. And then 35 minutes ago, this video came up two. They're breaking now out onto the 101, I believe it is. And where is it?
The only way, of all the things that these people do, city streets can be tricky. And looting can be tricky because, how do you, I don't know the tactics of police, but when it comes to highways, roadways,
right,
that strikes me as the most basic thing that a police force should be able to secure. There are exits, there are entrances, it's just, if they're getting away with that day after day, the cops are letting them. It's that simple.
And how do we fix that? I mean, even with the National Guard there and the Marines that are going in, who has actually, that's a good question. Who has control in that situation? Is it the National Guard?
No, the Marines, in fact, I think that is not within their rules of engagement. They're supposed to only protect federal facilities and personnel.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
I thought they were there to support the National Guard. I didn't know that, to push back the crowds.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not really sure, but I do think they're very careful. They don't want to give the Democrats, and this is a Democrat Party operation. Okay, let's not kid ourselves.
Right, of course.
They don't want to give them that victim. Although, again, to a large extent, these victims are not exactly setting themselves up to be pitied. I mean, that guy who was pushing back against the police car the first day. Look, this is a new tactic. This is a tactic that could only exist in a time when the rioters are convinced that the cops have been completely defanged.
Right, of course.
Right.
They're neutered. They're neutered. And we have, talking about ladies, we have Paula M., a very dear friend of mine, with 125 Nicaraguan Cordobas. Young females today give women a bad name. Thank you, Paula.
The algorithms have not been kind to the women. I don't think so.
No, they haven't. And Ron is right. We've been watching videos of the police officers. They've been backing up. You can tell the difference between ICE and the National Guard. You see the LAPD, and they keep coming, throwing rocks, and they just keep backing. I'm like, what are you doing? Hold the damn line. And you have here shooting just started. Now rioters are shooting at cops, at police officers.
Oh shit! So I want to just say that I'm not an expert on street culture,
right?
And I've only been to LA a few times. What I'm seeing here is gangbangers who are almost certainly not part of the organized rioting.
Okay.
First, because they're shooting. There's no way in hell the rioters are going to use firearms, because all bets are off once that happens. Secondly, the guy, he looks to me like one of the guys from Straight Outta Compton.
Right.
He's a black guy who's got a gun, like a lot of black guys in LA have, and he's saying, "Hey, the pigs are out.
Go.
Things are out of control. I'm going to take a couple of shots. I'm going to have some fun.
Take advantage of it."
And yet, is he in custody tonight?
That's a good question. I would love to know that. And this came right before we started, that they are now breaking out under the 101. This kind of crap drives me crazy. Why they allow people to take over freeways. Think about how many emergency vehicles, how many women who are pregnant. How about somebody's kid just cut their leg and is bleeding out on the front? But no, we're going to stop the entire freeway because somebody wants to wave a flag or they're pissed off. I've never understood how that's allowed by the law.
It's not allowed by the law. It's allowed by the people who are tasked with enforcing the law.
Right, but they never stop it. I saw it in New Jersey a few years ago. We saw it during the summer. It's like they never stop them, ever.
And if drivers take the law into their own hands,
which I thought you should be able to defend. You know, we had that case in Texas during the 2020 where the gentleman defended himself in Austin because someone pointed an AK at him at the window, and he shot him. He went through this whole rigmarole. It's insane. But,
I think they're looking for some kind of rallying optics, something like Kent State, something that they can have the moral authority or higher ground. But I think what they don't understand is the modern political context, that the social media is going to drive what people think about this, and that society is the one that creates those optics. It's not them. Like, they can put all the pictures they want out, but it's what people latch onto. And what I see right now is a lot of fist pumping every time some Antifa freak gets a tear gas canister in the face, and not a whole lot of stuff about, you know, if the Elian Gonzalez picture dropped today, I don't think a lot of people would care that much about it. And so they just don't get it. And they're getting ratioed everywhere on Twitter. And so, I mean, I guess it's, like Ron said, I guess it's an attempt to wrangle to be sort of king of the heap of ashes of the Democrat Party. But
I think you're right there. No, I agree with you. I think they're looking for a Kent State. They want someone, whether it's the National Guard or police officer, or ICE, they want someone to do an accident so they can plaster it all over social media, all over the news. Look at a baby got shot, or a baby got bloodied, or they want that. They're looking for that. My point is we're going to get into this now in a second, is who's funding it. I started talking about this a little bit on a Sunday night. That Data Republican had done some research on it. Great research, by the way. And I started digging further. Yeah, she is amazing. But I started digging even further. I took what she put up, and I wanted to share this with you, and I dug a little deeper. So it goes in. So Data Republican shares a number of NGOs have been implicated in this. Foremost is Coalition for Humane Immigration Rights, or CHIRLA, and the photos of signs, how they were printed by the People's Socialist Liberation, Party for Socialism and Liberation. You go down here, Chairla has tax number. Most of its private funding appears to be from DAF. So I was like, what the hell is a DAF? And I found out these are donor advised funds. They're tax deductible way basically to hide the donor's identity. They're kind of like shell, kind of like umbrella organizations where they can, fund, get tax deductible money in there, torch a city without getting their hands dirty.
So what other law enforcement entity are we seeing not doing its job?
FBI and DOJ.
IRS.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you pull this shit off?
That's my point. Why haven't? It's like I always thought it's not the rioters on the ground. They're causing one set of problems. The people funding them. Yesterday at 9 a.m., all of a sudden you had these vans pull up and started dropping ballistic shields in LA. You saw that? The ballistic shields, like those things are, well, I've found any from $60 all the way to a few $100s. These aren't cheap, and they're just dropping crates of them. Somebody's paying for that.
I mean, the Walton family is out funding the one this weekend too, which is pretty wild considering how tied in they are to the Chinese Communist Party.
Yep.
The economic co-interests and the fact that the CEO of Walmart's a member of the Business Roundtable, which has also been accused of having globalist and Chinese communist ties. So I can only conjecture that if we have social unrest, it benefits our adversaries. And, if Gavin's up there doing secession talk, that's better for China. It is. It makes us unstable, undermines.
100%. Yeah. You're 100%. So I dug in the Party for Socialism. Here are my notes. Party for Socialism and Liberation is funded by Neville Singham. And that guy was a tech entrepreneur. He made his billions. And all of a sudden, he starts using all that money to bankroll Marxist revolutions and anti-American chaos. But then they joined forces with something called the Million Voters Project. And because Data Republican had the Millions Voter Project up there, but not who funds it. So I spent all day. Won't be surprised. Well, you might be surprised, or maybe not. Do you know who funds the Million Voters Project? 3 groups. It's called the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, which is Mark Zuckerberg and his wife, Priscilla Chan. Then you got Mark Heising, hedge fund manager, and Liz Simmons, daughter of billionaire Jim Simmons from Renaissance Technologies. Plus, Facebook co-founder Dustin Moskovitz and wife Carrie Tuna. They've been funding the Million Voters Project, which is backing and paying for the posters, the signs. And I'm like, didn't Zuckerberg just say, I made my big mistake, listening to Biden and being forced by the government? And didn't we all hear that apology?
This is all one big incestuous web, because then there's the accusations that Facebook's tied to DARPA. It all just piles up into some big, massive taxpayer Ouroboros, just funneling money to undermine our own democracy. It's really wild.
Yeah, but what's crazy, it is frustrating because part of it comes from taxpayer funding. We're paying for our own destruction. And at the same time, we're supporting organizations that most people don't know, that Facebook, Meta, Instagram, all that money that flows through ads and clicks and videos and reels, that ends up going back to destroy them. That somehow wouldn't the FBI have some type of conspiracy? I don't know, treason, Ron, something?
Well, treason is off the table.
Okay.
Treason is off the table. Treason, this is just an opportunity for me it's a new platform.
Yeah.
For me to say, treason is giving aid and comfort to the enemy, not in that order, comfort and aid to the enemy. An enemy is something that only exists in a time of declared war.
Okay.
Now, there are a million ways you can prosecute someone: seditious conspiracy, lots of things. There are more federal crimes by far than there are hairs on my head. I mean, that's an easy one. But there has to be the political will, and there has to be an institutional willingness to follow political direction. And I will tell you, and I'm just wildly switching the topic a little bit here, everybody who is trashing Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino and Kash Patel because they haven't arrested and rounded up people, folks, it is naive to think that stuff that we on social media know, the FBI doesn't know. Not because the FBI is so super great like they are, like you see on TV, but just because they have an unlimited budget. They get whatever they want from judges. If they show up to a FISA court and say, I want to look in Coleman's underwear drawer, it's pretty much no questions asked. Anything they want, they get. It takes a long time to investigate and put together indictments and all this stuff. I mean, I do think we're going to see some phenomenal prosecutions.
Well, good. You give me hope.
And I will tell you, for example, my former partner, Harmeet Dillon, who's now head of the Civil Rights Division, she hit the ground running so hard. She's already knocking out collusive consent decrees, as well as old, unnecessary and politically, what's the word I want? Politically biased consent decrees that were not collusive, but were still very damaging to Republicans. She's going around the country, and I think she said there are like 40 of these that she's targeting. She's opening up investigations into, these Ivy League schools that are, coddling all these Nazi Palestinians and Karen Juniors that are, so enamored of them and those faculties. A lot's going on. And that's why now, by the way, I'm going to play a little analyst here. Why now, besides the fact that summer is here and time is right for fighting in the streets? Because the clampdown is going to come.
Okay.
And this is the moment for these guys to push. And they've been very successful in pushing. And this week they've been successful in pushing because they haven't gotten much pushback. But keep a close eye on Portland. Is it Portland? No, Seattle. Is it Seattle where they're now Antifa shut down the federal building?
Yeah, I thought it was in Antifa.
Yes.
Okay.
Federal government has to act there. Has to act there because obviously the Seattle PD won't. They've got to do whatever has to be done because that is an absolutely out of control, radical cadre. Seattle is really one of the ground zeros here. But without even focusing on that one example, in Los Angeles and in all these other places, they're pushing. They don't have any specific goals. Do they really think policies are going to be changed by virtue of going into the street and making fools of themselves and burning cars? They are asserting an envelope of power and privilege over the forces of civilization that will have to be recaptured by the normies just to get us back to the baseline of basic humanity here. And that is being allowed to happen. And to the extent that the federal government has not already meaningfully changed the facts on the ground, and I guess the Marines business has helped. That's got to happen a lot faster.
I agree. I think when you were asking, and thank you for that summary, I think it's beautiful. I think Mark answered that a little while ago, what they want. They want a Kent State. They want to push something to happen because that's the only thing they have left. They have to change the optics, sell that emotion.
Ron, you portrayed it really great. And I kind of feel like it's the Overton window, I guess, and they realize that they're losing, but this is a last-ditch effort to pull it as far as they can, knowing that it'll inflict lasting damage that needs to be repaired, I guess.
They're losing. Listen, they long ago abandoned the war of ideas.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
They have, here, Mark, they have lost the war of politics.
Well,
Yeah,
they can't
they've lost
sell
moral
ideas.
high ground. They've lost culture. They've lost institutional trust. They've lost credentialism. They've burned every asset.
Yeah, really. So what are they left with? Force
Feelings. That's it. Force and feelings. Force feelings. That's why I view this in it through a different lens, and I hate using that word because the left always uses it. But I view this not as how they're trying to frame it, another summer of love 2.0. I view it as a summer of jihad. Did you notice that many of the people who are rioting, throwing bricks, half of them are waving the Mexican flag, the other half are either waving, a hammer and sickle, or they're the kafir. So I'm like, this looks like a green and red alliance, communists with Islamic jihadists. That's how I read it. Is that wrong?
George, it's neither.
It's neither? Which one?
It's Marxists.
Right. You don't think you just think it's neo-Marxist?
They're cosplaying Palestinian terror. They're cosplaying sympathy with the Mexicans. These are all brand new Mexican flags. They just drop shipped them into the neighborhood, 48 hours ago. Same thing. These are all leftist organizations. It's Antifa. It's this, regardless. So the shift, by the way, though, to the Mexican flags does get them a little bit out of a hole, because there's much more sympathy towards Mexicans than there is towards Palestinians.
Right, but you don't find that odd that you have now the Muslim Brotherhood? There's a lot of talk about how Laura Loomer keeps covering it, how the Muslim Brotherhood is behind this. A lot of it.
Linda Sarsour was just spotted at one of these events speaking today, I think.
Who was? Oh, Sarsour. So she's a pig. This is her entire.
She is a pig.
This is her entire existence. Is, she's Granny Greta Thunberg. It's these people. They have nothing else to do. They have to keep ginning up.
You know who else was there, Ron? Right? Hassan Piker. The millionaire socialist who calls himself, the one who stated on air that he believes killing babies is the equivalent of resistance fighting. That graping is okay. I can't stand that piece of shit, pardon my language. It's like typical, but he's one of these cocktail communists, cocktail socialists who goes around like, I'm with socialists. And he wants to burn everything down while he drives his Bentley home. It's like, be honest. And then you had Greta Thunberg. Did you hear her the other day where she's like, I've been kidnapped? I was like, I was actually kidnapped. You saw that, Mark, where she's like, I've been kidnapped.
Well, I haven't been able to keep up. I just saw the video of her on the plane flying back, but they've lost culture here. I'm looking
at language. They steal language. Kidnapped, resistance, occupation. Every word means genocide means completely the opposite of what it meant when dictionaries were written and when. Listen. One of the great advantages of social media is that there's virtually no barrier to entry to be published. And that means there's no more gatekeeping. Right. What it also has meant, though, is that there are no barriers to entry to what words mean. There used to be editors at newspapers and magazines and network programs who said, you can't use that word here. This isn't genocide. I'm responsible for this program, and you have to call that day's over. That's over. It's all free for all, and numbers are significant, and there are very, very many people who like to misuse these words.
But it doesn't drive you crazy when you hear just outright bullshit and you have communists running around. We're not talking about liberals who have a different perspective of how to create a more perfect union. They don't want a better America. Communist Marxists, they want to destroy it. I have a video after this. I want you to hear this. When you have Greta Thunberg, who goes from climate change and telling farmers, what they should plant, how to destroy their lives. Now, all of a sudden, she's like, I'm going to join the Palestinian resistance, and she was kidnapped.
My name is Greta Thunberg, and I am from Sweden. If you see this video, we have been intercepted and kidnapped in international waters by the
kidnapped. The Israelis fed them, made sure they were safe, and turned them around. But you know what I think is the beautiful thing? They forced them to watch the entire documentary of what happened on October 7th.
Did they? I thought they walked out.
Oh, I see. I got the report. The Jerusalem Post said they were forced. If I'm wrong, tell me.
I understand. Let's get to the bottom of it. But I mean, how can you really force someone without?
Well, they said you have to watch this before you go, is what the article. If they walked out, they walked out, because they said if you're going to come here to do this, you're going to have to see what you're talking about. And they're supposed to be 40.
You'd think so, but I mean, these people do make it. Never confronting the truth is like one of the main tools in their kit.
Right. Yeah, Greta Thunberg. And then you got this guy. At least he was honest. I will say, I can't stand communists. Pretty much hate them. Communist Marxists. But this guy was at least brave enough to tell the truth. And this was earlier today.
We don't agree with the term illegal. We're undocumented. We've been here for thousands of years before you guys showed up, screw up everything. We think we should organize together with the U.S. working class and fight together and create a better system. We're anti-capitalist. We think socialism does work, real socialism, not Venezuela, not Cuba, not any of that.
Wait till he tells you, Mark, what he thinks is the ideal socialism.
Crap that they try to sell us as socialism, and we believe it would be a more humane system that will take care of most of all people's necessities.
Is there a country we can look at kind of model the socialism idea?
The only model would be Soviet Union the first 4 years.
So they found their perfect communist system, and it's like the Soviets.
Yeah. I mean, how many times do we have to hear this?
The first 4 years, in other words, before the Soviets really got control over Russia.
Right. And started killing them.
We would love to burn this whole system down for 4 blissful years of like, what?
I mean, like, when you hear that as a pollster, as a human being, it's like it's got to blow your mind. It's like, I'm sure you've heard crazier stuff.
The stupid and mentally infirm have been weaponized against society. That's the problem. But I don't want to be pessimistic. I think that Twitter is a huge game changer. You know, look back where the right was 2019, 2020, 2021 as the boot of censorship came down, as everybody balkanized and went off into these echo chambers and went through, I think, this process of discovery. I remember what the right was like pre-COVID, and it's night and day different. I'm looking on Twitter right now, and it doesn't even feel like the right has taken it over. It just feels like objective, dialogue focused truth seekers are out there dominating the conversation. And now the left is in their echo chambers, and they can't stay there because they don't get their like little inside moral superiority points if they can't rub their luxury beliefs in front of everybody's faces. So blue sky, the traffic stats are not going up. They're going down. People are coming back to Twitter, and they're going to lose in the marketplace of ideas. It's going to be fascinating to see. But if you see what's happening on Twitter, you throw some controversy out there, give it about 24 to 48 hours. And I think personally that Twitter comes up with the right answer. Now, does everybody believe it? No. Those people get ruthlessly ratioed and driven into silence or irrelevancy. Look, even Elon Musk, who has the biggest voice on Twitter, I think he lost the H-1B debate back in December, and he was wise enough to shut his mouth after that. And so that's different. That's not social media. That's not microblogging. That's not debate. It's truth seeking. And I think we've been starved for that. And the liberals, socialists, they can't compete. Their ideas are not going to win.
Right. That's why today authenticity is the currency of the realm. Anything fake, people sniff it out. They smell it, especially with AI coming. I think people are honing their senses even more because they're like, is this real? Is this not real? Mexican Ironman comes in, deport the migrants. Yeah, you have a lot of people. You know what I have found really interesting? I've been looking for positive stories because I hate black pill. You know, I'm always about optimism. It's the same way that I survived being kidnapped. I don't know if I ever told you that, Mark. I'd share that with Ron. I had been kidnapped at 7 and tortured for a year before my family rescued me. It was one of the reasons why I named the channel Giant Slayer, because I faced my first giant. And So I've noticed all over X, where I keep calling Twitter X, are people calling this BS out in a beautiful way.
So let me get this straight, just so I could clarify it. You don't want to go back to Mexico. You're protesting to stay away from Mexico. But you're waving the Mexican flag and you're waving it with pride. You're waving it in the United States, the country you're trying to stay in, the country you don't want to leave. But yet you're waving the Mexican flag with pride. Okay. That seems normal to you? That seems logical? That's not stupid at all? None of that's stupid. All right. You guys are an embarrassment to the Mexican culture and to the United States culture. You guys are an embarrassment to everybody around you, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Do better.
Good morning. Yep. Brilliant. I'll play one more.
George?
Absolutely, I will.
Drop it in the private, okay?
Hold on. Let me get that to you right
I hope
now.
what we're seeing now is a wave of the ascendant male.
Oh, that would be good.
Who's willing to be disagreeable in the pursuit of truth.
You know, I think that's a great point, Mark. I think the Karenization process failed, and really nobody wants to hear it.
Yep.
Thank God it failed.
And there's some guys who listen. If your balls are snipped off, they don't tend to grow back.
No,
but there are many guys who are prepared to pretend that they were snipped off and they weren't, and it's not gonna, it is not gonna last. I think that's a great point.
It is. You know what we need? We need to have Plato's themos back. What Plato called that hunter, the red meat eater, the warrior, that spirit of passion. The fighter. Men.
The idea of logos, intellectually honest discourse to find mutually agreed truth, is as a serious pursuit. I was riffing on this, and I agree 100% with you, Ron. What I came up with is I think that what they did was they feminized logic, and that's what's permeated every institution that we've ever had. And I'm not being anti-female. I'm just saying from a masculine and female perspective of logic, plenty of women out there that can think with masculine logic, but this idea of challenging yourself, being dangerous, like Peterson talks about, finding and discovering truth, and not leaning into emotional, cohesive, consensus-seeking behavior. We've had maximum consensus-seeking behavior. It did not work.
No, we didn't, because we were trying to go with feelings and emotions, not facts. That's why they tried to subvert reality. Mexican Ironman, there's an epidemic of beta-ass dudes that send chicks online money. Yeah, because they want to get laid and they'll do anything to it for it. And they'll even snip their nuts off. Unfortunately, we have one more gentleman. I have one more video show you.
Intellectual nuts off.
They some of them did both. It's like you saw. Who was it that happened to? It was 2 weeks ago. It was a big fashion designer. I think it was, I don't know if it was Dolce & Gabbana or somebody else. They hired Dylan Mulvaney. And I'm like, did you not learn from like Bud Light? It's like, wake up. But this other gentleman, he nails it. We're going to show you this clip, and then I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and we'll wrap up. I think it'll be short, sweet, for the premiere episode.
Someone asked me if I support the protests that are going on in LA. I 100% do. Please keep going. Burn down your own backyard if you must. You know why? Because this right here is the greatest campaign ad that this side never had to pay for. Y'all motherfuckers out there in Los Angeles throwing a full-blown fucking tantrum. Like y'all just crawled out the Rio Grande, screaming death to America, in a country that gave you the fucking freedom to do that shit. You were born at Kaiser Permanente in Burbank. Stop it. You ain't El Chapo, you're Chris from Pasadena. You ain't cartel born. You were Target born with a Costco membership by age 5. Half you motherfuckers protesting ain't even Mexican. You're American with Mexican heritage and a tattoo of the Virgin Mary you got on a Vegas bender. Don't get it twisted. I respect the heritage, but flying a foreign flag while shitting on the country that gave you the fucking freedom to do it, that's not pride. You don't even go to fucking Mexico unless it's for spring break in Cancun with a passport you got from the U.S. government. And you won't go live there. Why? Because you like your DoorDash. You're 7.
He's brilliant. I'm telling you, he nails it.
That's excellent.
You want that one, Ron? I didn't. Is that what?
Yeah.
No,
I want that link also. Yeah.
Okay. So here's my question, and this is what I was asked. What comes if the president invokes the insurrection? What powers does he have, and what has to happen for him to do that? Because they've been talking about it on news all day long. Is he going to invoke it? Is he not? What is he actually? What authority will he have?
I did not prepare for that question.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't tell you. It's not the kind of thing that anyone outside of a law school,
okay,
has ever looked at. I mean, I guess there are historians who've looked at it, but it's certainly not something that's ever come up in my work. But like you, I understand that it is a game changer. And I apparently, here's one thing that I did see, that it apparently gives the president the authority to use troops the way we were talking about before, which is basically using troops to put down riots as opposed to using troops to protect federal assets. So that would be a game changer. And, there's a certain amount of discomfort with that concept, I'm sure. But what do you do? And I wrote an article about this in 2020, which I have pinned to the top of my X, about Portland, when Trump did send some National Guard to Portland. And just as President Eisenhower sent troops to Little Rock because the state government would not enforce the law. If that's what they're going to, if they're not going to enforce the law in California, then the president is duty bound, not merely has the power and the privilege, he's duty bound to make sure that it is enforced. And part of that law is that regular people, even forget about, I don't really mean forget about, but in addition to protecting federal personnel and federal installations, everyday people are entitled to go about their business.
Well, they are. You saw what happened yesterday.
It is against federal law to go on the road and block traffic. It's against federal law. So we could do something.
I hope they stop that. I hope they stop that, because yesterday they were blockading the federal building. You saw Maxine Waters. I'm sure y'all saw that clip where Maxine Waters goes in. She knocks on. She goes, I want entry to the ICE facility. She's like, I want to use my congressional authority. I have the right to go in. The guy's like, you need to make an appointment, contact public service. I was like, give that man a raise. She's like, they denied me. I'm a congresswoman. They denied me. I'm like,
this is my congressional scepter.
Yes. I am God. Here, remember Maxine, who used to tell everybody, when you see any MAGA around, you make their lives miserable at a restaurant, at a gas station. It bothers me. One piece of great news today, we heard from Alina Habba, U.S. Attorney Habba. Today, a federal grand jury seated in New York, New Jersey, returned a 3-count indictment charging U.S. Representative LaMonica MacGyver with forcibly impeding.
Just around the corner from me, right here in Newark.
I love Alina Habba. I do. I love her.
You would have her child. You would have her baby.
I think.
Oh wow! I thought they dropped this. This is beautiful. I thought they were going to drop this. Wow.
Nope. There was a big article, but that's not the only
one they dropped was against the mayor.
Yeah,
got it.
Which I don't understand.
I hope they go after Murphy next. I would love to see that.
This one, Habba, not Habba. She's the USA. The one who the charges were, the indictment was handed up against, was the one who was literally shoving the ice. Was it ice or was it?
It was ice. She was hitting it. Yeah, she was hitting him in the belly and then pushing him. Here's the other one that came across, which I hadn't paid attention to. This one, didn't know anything about it till earlier. Massachusetts judge accused of helping man evade ICE faces See, that I don't get. She gets a disciplinary hearing. It says Massachusetts judge who was criminally charged during the first Trump administration with helping a migrant slip out from a back door of the courthouse to avoid arrest by federal immigration agents faced a judicial misconduct hearing on Monday that could determine if she can remain on the bench. And so she has a hearing coming up. So they're going after him. I really want to know, because you have gruesome Newsom going around everywhere. You saw him on the news. He's sitting there going, let him arrest me. If he's a tough guy, let him come after me. And I'm like, and the mayor, all of them. They're like, because they're saying Tom Homan said he could arrest me, and Homan never said that. He said anybody who breaks the law is not above the law, and we'll arrest them. But
make consequences great again. That's what I say.
That's why I agree. FAFO. All right. Well, we'll wrap up. Eric Heffelfinger for $10. Dems refused to take responsibility for the mountain of bodies and drugs across multiple countries. Didn't care about legality under Obama or Biden. I won't listen to lectures about morality or legality. Nailed it. You know, one of the things I hate? I've been hearing people all day long. Thank you, Eric, for that. Who have been saying, well, this is horrible. This is horrible. They're like, illegal immigration, it's not actually a federal crime. And I was looking up, I'm like, crossing is, I think it says a federal misdemeanor. I could be wrong. But then I looked deeper and I was like, one thing that bothers me, last year we had around 20,000 American citizens killed from our own citizens. And Reuters, they stated 5,000, but when I went and dug in the numbers, Reuters and ICE estimate around 500 American citizens were killed by illegal aliens. And I'm like, not one should go through them. Not one parent, not one son, not one child, not father, mother, because it's preventable. Crime is in every country, but that is preventable. Period. Thank you, Eric. And we have Jenny Henry became a Georgia Giant Slayer member. Thank you, Jenny. Can't wait to see you at the member stream, which hopefully we're going to do this week. And Blitzen gifted 10 Georgia Giant Slayer memberships. Bless you, Blitzen. Please, everybody, go thank Blitzen. I think this was a great show. Great for a premiere. And I will leave you, gentlemen, with this last thing because I think it's hilarious. You had President Trump. I think he said it beautifully today. There we go.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah.
I think I know. Oh, no, not that one. No.
Oh, which one? Do y'all have one better?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll find it.
Allowing this to happen. Let me tell you, when you watch these agitators break up concrete and hand it out to people as they stood in line to get it, these have to be paid troublemakers.
Protect democracy brand bricks. That's what is getting passed out.
No, I don't say the governor of the mayor. I said somebody's paying them, I think. And if they're not, they're just troublemakers. What can I tell you? But I believe somebody's paying them. I mean, I've never seen somebody with a big hammer so professional. Now, they took the bricks away from them. So they say, how do we get in? The military did. How do we get in? And what do we do? They said, I have an idea. Let's break up the concrete. And that's even better than bricks. And that's what happened.
Yeah. I love him.
I sent you the link. There's another one you might want to consider.
Okay.
Bricks of peace.
Bricks of peace. You saw that. It's the same thing that happened in 2020. All these pictures, all of a sudden, pallets of bricks show up. It's like,
come on.
Somebody's got to trace that. I mean, it's just
a little bit of police work. Come on. Do it.
A little bit. Oh, here it is.
They have all their cell phone pings. They probably have the financial transactions.
They just have to try. They have demonstrated no interest in trying. Play that last one, and then we can go out on that. I guarantee you the crowd will be happy.
My fellow Americans, it is with overwhelming enthusiasm that I am declaring that anyone who protests or interferes with ICE and their operations is officially gay. Big time. With that being said, go ahead and call your dads, tell them about your alternative lifestyle as a gay communist. And then who knows, maybe eat a lollipop. I don't know what flamers do with their time, but I'd imagine it's something along those lines. Maybe decorate a bathroom, who knows? In either case, this is who you are now, and everybody knows that Cat's out of the bag. Cat is out of the bag.
I love it. Oh, Ron, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. Bless both of you. Thank you. This has been great. Please, everybody, Ron and Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Reports, Ron Coleman, one of the most brilliant attorneys in the country. Please go check them out. Thank you so much. I hope y'all come back.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, anytime.
Everybody. Thank you. Remember, this is the first episode of FAFO where they fuck around and you are going to make them find out. Thank you. Love you.